I'd like to call this meeting in order, please, of April 2nd, 2024, our regular meeting. As we gather today, I would like to acknowledge on behalf of this committee and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Just a couple of things on my address. A reminder of the Housing Summit on April the 4th in Renfrew. I believe we have 2 council members going, Bill and Maureen. That's great. Also, I'd like to mention that the 2023 Ontario Senior Achievement Award was a winner from North Algona. His name was Lorenzo Kello, and which is a highlight for our county. So, minutes of the previous meeting. Motion, please.
Moved by Maureen McMillan, second by Harold Levine. Motion to approve the minutes of the regular council meeting of March 19th, 2024, open and closed sessions.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Motion for the finance meeting.
Moved by Carl Keel, second by Maureen McMillan. Motion to approve the minutes of the finance committee meeting of March 18th, 2024, open and closed session.
Questions or discussion? Haven't seen none. All those in favor? Carried. Moving along to reports. Dean.
Okay, just regular road maintenance continues, and equipment checks, grading, brushing, coal patching, etc. We have that. There's an equipment trade show. It's in Cornwall this year. I'm not sure if anybody would like to attend that. I'd like to attend with council's permission. It just shows more equipment, stuff down like, well, basically all the equipment, like graders, backhoes, loaders. It's a pretty good trade show, so I just wondered.
When is it?
June 5th to the 6th.
Can we have a vote on sending Dean?
I'd like to go.
Yeah.
I've always gone, I don't know.
Okay, no, I just,
It's up to council.
it's like before we didn't go because it was way down southern Ontario, but it was too far of a drive. I think it was like 5-6 hours. But Cornwall isn't too bad, so.
All those in favor of Dean and Carl going?
Do you want to go, Brian, or?
No.
No. Carl?
No.
Okay.
Carried. So just the 2.
Okay, and then other than that, just a waste management report. We're just basically continuing cleaning up at both landfill sites and trying to get it look nice there because all the snow's gone now. Well, more coming maybe next couple days, but we're trying to get it cleaned up the best we can.
You guys are gonna work this winter, fine.
And that's basically it for my report.
Awesome. Tammy.
Okay, just have a couple of things. So I provided council with the community safety well-being plan in 2024. So if there's no questions or comments or concerns with it, I have a resolution.
May we hear the resolution?
Moved by Bill Smith, second by Harold Levine, that council for the township of Kilwood, Aberdeen, Richards hereby approves and adopts the community safety well-being plan 2024.
Questions or discussion? All those in favor? Carried.
I tried to read it all down, but it was a little long on my phone.
The library had contacted me last week and asked if they can use council chambers on April the 10th from 4 to 8 to help host a meeting.
questions, or? Sure.
And the last thing was, Mayor Nagle had asked that the next finance meeting be scheduled for April 10th, 2024 at 7, so I'm just asking if council is available that day.
What time?
At
7.
7. Correct.
I can do that.
Everybody okay?
Yeah, at 7, yeah, okay. It's library too.
Oh,
But the
Oh.
library board is at 5:30.
okay, yeah.
Oh,
No,
you
it's
did.
at 6:30.
It says 5:30 in my calendar.
Is it? Okay. We'll figure that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the night they want. What night did they want this space?
10.
The 10th.
Yeah.
April 10th, from 4 to 8. Oh, I rescheduled, double booked.
So that won't work.
So it won't work, so April 10th, so I'll have to pick a different day.
11?
Ted can't make that.
I
It's a
can't do the
Thursday.
11th either.
And you don't wanna go Tuesday, cause the road tour is 9 to 2, right?
I would do Tuesday night, honestly.
I could do Tuesday night.
We'll be together all day, Carl. It'll be really
Oh
fun.
my God.
It's
Nine?
it's the 9th.
Can you do the night?
There we go.
It's fine.
Okay.
I don't-
Wow, we are gonna be close all day.
And then I'll let Councilor Brown know that, and that's all I have for open.
Great. Thank you. Correspondence. Town of Fort Erie. Request provincial government to support increasing funding for public libraries and community museums.
I have a resolution prepared for that.
We have a resolution.
Moved by Maureen McMillan, second by Bill Smith, that council for the township of Kidley, Hagerty, and Richards hereby supports the letter of support received from the town of Fort Erie and the resolution, excuse me, from the township of Lincoln requesting that the provincial government support increasing funding for public libraries and community museums, and further that this resolution be circulated to the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Neil Lumsden, Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, the Association of Municipalities Ontario, and all 44 municipalities in Ontario.
All those in favor? Carried. Next one is Foundation Emergency Resolution, or a proclamation, May 17th as International Day Against Homophobia and Transphobia. Next one, Town of Fort Erie, Resolution, Architectural Conservancy, Ontario. Next one is request for proclamation of National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week of April 14th to the 20th. Next one is from the Township of Bon Cher Valley, supporting the Pembroke Hospital Mental Health Services. Next one is Township of Bon Cher Valley, resolution to cancel carbon tax.
You want to support that? Come on, Maureen, start writing.
Did you want me to table it and then bring it back to the next council meeting?
Yeah, please. No?
Township of Clearview, endorsement of Bill C-63 in the House of Commons. Township of Alnwick, how do you say that? Alnwick, Alderman, support municipalities retaining surplus from tax sales. Corporation of the County of Prince Edward. A call to action to meet the deadline of an accessible Ontario by 2025. Next one's from the Corporation of the City of Brantford, Home Heating Sustainability. Okay, moving along, in your package, you will see a letter that was addressed to Tammy from Steve Lucas in regards to the zoning. And at this time, Bruce, I will let you take. Okay. You may have the floor to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in regards to the email that was sent, so floodplain mapping has not been completed along the Vaughan Shore River. And when, under provincial policy, when there has not been any floodplain mapping completed, there is a one zone approach. So this means no development is permitted within the floodplain. So the floodplain in the bylaw, we have an elevation, which is the highest, the maximum it went to in 2017, 2019. So because there is no floodplain mapping for the township, we did, in order to avoid issues, that was the number that we recommended. So I guess some of the wording in this email was talking about the Golden Lake high water mark being 169.67. So this was the average that we were given by RPG. So Golden Lake didn't seem to have as many concerns with flooding as with that number. So that's why we went with that one. So the township can undertake floodplain mapping study in order to utilize the two-zone approach, where you would have the floodway and the flood fringe, and certain development would be permitted if it was floodproof. But because there is no mapping within the township, we went with the one-zone approach for no development in the worst case. So if you want me to go through like the rest of his email, there was a question about does using the 171.95, does it encourage economic development or discourage it? Saying that it does discourage it. However, the economic development is not a consideration here. It is looking at the health and safety of the buildings and the residents. And then the recommendation was to change it to 171.38 or lower. Again, this was a recommendation by RPG. It wasn't them saying for sure to use it, but it was the number that we put in, and if the township would like to do the floodplain mapping, then they can do that down the road, but this is the number that we recommend.
Questions? Sure.
What's the process for floodplain mapping? Who does it? How long does it take? Who pays the cost?
So the township would have to find a company that can do it, and then we have to figure out the cost with them.
Okay, so that's it.
I can provide a little bit more information. So just recently, it's on our Zen City website right now. So we started the process of looking at what it would be for each sort of area to undertake floodplain mapping, because the last time any type of floodplain mapping was done was just a small, not a small section, it was a large section along the Ottawa River, and that was back in the 60s. And for the rest of the county, there is no floodplain mapping anywhere. So you're not really in a unique situation. You're in a situation that's very common right across the county. where a lot of people have lacking information. So a while back, it's called LiDAR, and I don't know what it's short for, but the acronym is LiDAR, but it's a special type of mapping where they fly over it and they can take very detailed contour mapping and get all this information. So the province flew our area, not the whole county, but certain sections of the county. And I said, here's this LiDAR mapping, and this is all in response to the provincial government did I lost the terminology for it, but essentially a paper saying flooding is an issue all across Ontario, what do we have to do to be more ready for floodplain preparedness. And so it's a joint program between Natural Resources Canada, the federal government, and Ministry of Natural Resources at the provincial level. They've come together, and there was this fund that was put together and said, we're going to try to assist municipalities to go through this process. And there was a grant available, and they have this multiple phase approach of how do you do it. And so the county, because obviously we have a lot of municipalities, and this lighter area that we had impacted several of them, including Henry Richards. So the county of Renfrew undertook the first sort of phase of floodplain mapping. So we had a grant from the federal government for 50% of it, and then the county contributed 25% of it, and then the rest of the municipalities that were affected contributed the other 25% of it. And so this went through the numbers. So the first phase was identifying sort of what information is sort of out there, what do we have to do, what data do we not have that we have to collect, and sort of identify priority areas. So the very first set of reports are complete and available on our ZNC website if anybody wanted to look at it. But essentially sets the ground for future projects. For sort of if and when we would say either these probably want to undertake it by yourself, or ideally when there's federal provincial monies available. So we're anticipating that there will be funding available for grants for this type of mapping project. And so now you have the priority and scoping sort of report prepared as sort of that groundwork. We're saying when the province or when the federal government comes with that money, Township of Henry Richards or Town of Arpair, wherever you are, you'll be able to jump on that money and say, hey, we're ready to do a project. We want to do this floodplain mapping for our area because it is not an inexpensive or short project. So it will be substantial. But so the groundwork has been laid by the County of Renfrew. When money is available, that's something that we could look at in the future, have that discussion about what that flood mapping project would look like for the township. Or you can also just undertake it on your own.
And that could, in theory, lead to an amendment of our bylaw.
Correct. So once you have that floodplain mapping, you can make a change, say, okay, now we're going to implement it through our zoning bylaw and include the mapping as, right on the, a lot of it is digital, it's all digital based, so we can put that right into your zoning bylaw and put those correct elevations and implement a multiple zone approach depending on, what the results of that study is.
Thank you.
Brian?
So just to be clear on, Mr. Mayor, without this floodplain mapping, does that incur that we have no future projects can be completed on Round Lake? Is that where we are at, or what does it mean?
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, the projects can be undertaken, so the owner would have to, if they met the elevation, then they could build there, but if they couldn't meet there, then they could go through the minor variance process in order to build closer.
So as council, we'd be allowed to give them a minor variance to build with the bylaw in force? Yeah, right?
Yeah, there is wording in the bylaw. I think they would have to do this study, or like a survey, right?
So it would depend on what is being proposed on which property. So if there's a for example, if somebody wanted to create a new lot and it was within the floodplain area, we likely would recommend that lot not be approved and say, we're trying not to create any new hazards or anything. But for somebody who has an existing lot or existing dwellings, there's legal non-conforming provisions where if you have a property that's completely non-conforming, you have a house that's built that's non-conforming, you're allowed to do expansions to it, provided you meet certain criteria. And so some of the criteria that we would look at is, okay, if it's within that area, what is the risk to that property in specific? Because again, we don't have any floodplain mapping, so each property is unique and individual and can be looked at a little bit separately. So is there reasons why this property should be allowed to develop or rebuild a house? Are there things that we can do to flood-proof it based on how big the change is going to be compared to the floodplain? So there are, under the building codes, there are flood-proofing measures. So they, on condition, for that variance, you can implement conditions. If they want to implement some of those flood-proofing conditions, or maybe if they want to raise it up, put that house up higher outside of the, so that's up and outside the floodplain, there's a whole bunch of different possibilities there that council could consider, but it would be on a case-by-case basis, sort of looking at each one individually, saying, does this make sense for this particular property?
So looking at economic development and building our township where we get more tax revenue, our hands are pretty well tied, right? Like, this is, like, I'm looking at economic development, buildings, taxes, keeping this township going. I don't know.
I would look at economic development, I look at, safety and, we build in places where there's in a flood, I'd say that's the opposite of economic development. It costs the taxpayers, it costs the property owner, it costs the insurance companies a huge amount of money. So I'd say, and zoning in general is not an economic driver, but it is a protection of, safety and, of that property. So allowing somebody to build in the floodplain and have their house flooding consistently is not doing anybody any favors, and it's definitely not helping economic development.
I think since we brought this drawdown with the Ottawa, with the Montreal River there, things have been perfect, they're gonna keep continuing it. I don't think we're running into problems.
Your user, that's exactly what part of that floodplain mapping study would show. To say, hey, look at the new water management plan, this is where our new historical records are gonna be, or could be considered versus what would happen in 2017 or 2019. We know that because of this new management plan, because of X, Y, Z. Here is gonna be the elevation that we're moving forward and what flooding, sort of like where worst case scenarios that we could expect. So absolutely, that's a key criteria to be considered.
But any existing properties would not be denied, they could go through a minor variance or somehow be able to upgrade their cottage or building or whatever. It's just new stuff, it would be absolutely no.
So through was right, yeah, the new stuff would be no, we don't support that. And I don't want to say necessarily every property would be a yes if they're existing. It would be, we could consider it on a case-by-case basis, and could they meet certain tests and criteria where then the council could consider it. So yes, there would be a path forward for them for us to look at. There may also be instances where existing, like a person with an existing property that is, floods every year, but the answer would be no, that's something that house really shouldn't be in that location. And ideally, we, move that back. So I don't want to say yes, everything is a guarantee. So you submit your application, you're guaranteed, because there is always a potential that applications don't get submitted. So, but there is a path that property owners can go through and demonstrate, hey, this is how we can protect our property and protect, making sure that people can have a safe way in and out in times of flooding, so that it reduces the risk to property owners, reduces the risk to municipality, to the province, to insurance companies as a whole, and emergency and response and first responders.
Harold? Questions? Maureen? You good? Bill, any more?
No, I've got that. Thank you, Bruce.
You guys are okay? Okay. So, motion for the bylaw.
Moved by Brian Kosky, second by Carl Keel, that bylaw number 11/2024, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the character, location, and use of buildings and structures within the Township of Killoughby, Hagerty, and Richards, pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act of the Council of the Township of Killoughby, Hagerty, and Richards, at its regular meeting held on April 2nd, 2024, be given its first, second, and third reading, and finally passed the second day of April 2024.
All those in favor? So I'd just like to make a couple comments. I have to sign this first. This proposed zoning bylaw was initiated with 11 meetings in 2022. Thank you to the work of the former mayor, council, and the county of Renfrew. Thank you to them for getting things started. Thanks also to the current council for getting this bylaw over the goal line with 9 meetings over 2023 and 2024. Thank you to the county of Renfrew, Bruce Howarth, Lindsay Bennett, for their guidance and their leadership through this process. A comprehensive zoning bylaw protects quality of life, use of property, and property value. In addition, it will ensure that neighboring land uses are compatible. It will ensure that areas are developed based on consistent and equitable standards. Over the past year, several meetings have taken place with the current KHR Council, administration staff, building staff, and the county staff to review this bylaw. Through the development of this bylaw, previous and current council have thoroughly reviewed the needs and wants of the entire township. There is no doubt that once passed, issues will come up that will require reconsideration by council. Thank you. Okay. Moving along. Unfinished business. We had a delegation, or we were to have a delegation in Pierre Monsignor in regards to County Road 58. We had discussion last meeting, and I just wanted to give an update why there is no delegate. He did not come forward as delegation. I met with Lee Perkins in Renfrew County, and we came up with a plan in regards to appeasing their need for the reduction in the speed. Now, if anyone knows that area, from the Bell building to his property, there's a curve and a long straight stretch. It's 1.4 kilometers. So my suggestion was to put another sign, a 60-kilometer sign, because the first sign at the Bell building is 60 kilometers begins, and then at the end of his property it says 60 kilometers ends. So I talked to the county if they would put another sign in the middle, because that stretch has become not just a highway, it's become a freeway. And that straight stretch is really dangerous. The demographics have changed. There are more full-time residents there. There's children now for school bus pickups and drop-offs. Now, that's a good start, and just to let everyone know, there is no cost. They are going to do that, and now hopefully we can build on that and maybe move towards Red Rock and Floyd Parkway. So it's a start, and I think it's a good step. So I just wanted to give everyone an update on that. New business. Kildu and District Senior Citizens Friendship Club. Everyone got that memo? Now, has that been something we've done in the past?
No,
Not that I'm aware of, no.
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 It sort of caught me off guard, actually.
A number of years ago, when I was more closely involved with the board of the Friendship Club, it must have been 5 or 6 years ago, I recall that there was a similar question. It wasn't that, but why are we paying the higher taxes? And I requested I talked to Sue about that, Sue Sheridan about that, and she said that they were being charged at the lower rate, the residential rate, which is what typically, my understanding, is what you do for nonprofits. Is that correct?
I'm not sure, I'd have to.
When they requested.
Mhm.
So they're already getting the lower tax rate.
getting into a big ball, let's just start this.
Yeah, like one leads to others, you know, like,
Will you pay mine too?
so having said that, would, anyone object to Tammy writing a letter back to them and saying what we just discussed? You're okay with that?
As long as we make sure they're at, I like that they're at the reduced rate, for sure. They are at a reduced
Yeah.
rate?
I believe they're not getting
Yeah.
charged at the,
Okay.
Maybe we should put that in the letter, that they
I
are.
just like to be sure that that's the case.
Well, Tammy will check that then?
It doesn't matter, we aren't gonna.
Okay. Next one, Mohammed Anwar, chip truck placement at Hope Farm.
you're looking for a comment?
Please, you can lead off.
Yes. I think it would be fantastic. One way to get people to use the park. I
Draw
talked
people in.
I think it would be,
Yeah.
and now this is the word economic development.
I took the liberty of speaking with Kathy Lyons, who's kind of the lead on that park, and she's in support of it as well. So I know that has been
Awesome.
a question.
I think it could be really good. The only question, on the reply letter, Tammy, would be at the end of his season, do we store the vehicle or the chip truck there, or does he move it somewhere else? Like, I know where it is now, like everyone knows where it is, on the Summers property on the corner. I don't know, does anyone else have a concern about that, just leaving it there, or?
It depends where it is, like where it is going to be set up to start with.
That's a good point.
You know, it's, and me, myself, it's gotta be cleaned up.
Yes.
It looks.
I think he's the type of
Cleaned up would
person,
be a fantastic thing.
Yeah.
I think he's the type of person that will look after and spruce it up.
Yeah.
And then most of the people now, they would be using the entrance off of Highway 60. I'm sure that's not gonna be a concern with the traffic coming through there from both ways.
That's a good point, as far as making left-hand
It's right
turns.
on the highway, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you only saw that corner where the
Straight
stop sign
stretch.
is.
No, it's a
Good
straight,
straight
It's a
stretch
straight
there,
stretch,
should be no,
especially the highway too, is straight stretch.
should be no problem.
Somehow that MTO, they're really difficult as far as the left-hand turns.
We've already got the entrance, so.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a
We're
good
not
point.
putting a new driveway in.
There is an entrance, Bill just said, yeah, so,
I agree, I just want to judge it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it looks nice, it fits with the park.
and like he's got really good ideas, like I talked to him briefly. He wants to get up a sign that lists all the Killaloo businesses and promote in town so that they can just stop there for fries and.
It's another business for Killaloo, right?
Yeah.
Is he gonna pay any rent or anything?
Now, hang on a sec. I looked, bylaw number 32-2002. It's called transient
Yeah.
traders,
Traders license,
and I'm assuming, well, yeah, it is class 5. It says produce stands, chip wagons, and food outlets shall be assessed at the rate of $400 per year. And
I'm still talking about him using the property.
like a rental?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's what would that
No,
not?
that's just your
No,
license.
that's your
That's
operator's
that's
license.
your license. You know, it'd help everything, maintain broken stuff and, I don't know. What you feel.
You're looking at me.
Yeah.
I think there needs to be a rental fee paid for
Of
sure.
course.
Yes.
Because
I don't want to put
there's
them
no
out.
business you can set up for free.
No.
You don't want to put them out of business, though.
No, but I'm just
No.
saying, that's McCarthy's.
Yeah.
So yes,
Does anyone have a suggestion as far? Have we ever done this before? A property fee?
I forget, we had one up by the tourist information, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
They were charging rent or what
Burritos
was
or
it?
whatever the hell it was there.
Oh, yeah.
There was
Burritos.
a couple of them, Benny Roguski, Benny Petrowski, and then that German lady or whatever she was, and then my neighbor there, the fly by guy. And
So could Tammy investigate this and come back to our next meeting with something? Would that be fair?
Yeah.
And just to look into what maybe happened in the past, would you be able to get that information, you think? Yeah, yeah, and then we could have a discussion
yeah,
or something reasonable, maybe.
But as far as right now, we're giving him permission.
No, we don't wanna get rich, but it keeps
No,
people
no,
accountable
They want to
too.
go in for free.
Yeah.
Other ones kind of go, why can I go on this place?
yeah.
So as
I
of right
kinda-
now, we're giving him permission.
Yes.
The transient fee of $400, and we'll determine what the fee is for the property.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? All those in favor? Good.
As an added comment,
Yep.
we need a washroom and Wi-Fi, and then we're golden.
Mhm.
Just tell me, did Chris not have a grant for that washroom?
Yes, we didn't get that grant,
Oh, okay.
to the best of my knowledge. However, I understand that Inclusive Communities is going to be opening and getting the Inclusive Community Grant, and that's a grant that we can.
I think it was the cost went up so high that, yeah, there was a cost issue with that.
Is there a septic system there or not?
There is a septic system there. I was speaking with Brooke Tremback last week from Zericon, and he's not, Chris went with the assumption, or Chris and I went with the assumption that we may have to replace this septic system, and so that was a high, but Brooke doesn't know that that's accurate. So it would be worthwhile looking into.
Well, let's hope the grant comes available.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, the last new business. So as I mentioned earlier, in regards to the fellow from North Algona winning the Senior of the Year award, there is nominations for this year's Senior of the Year. The due date is April 30th. So, are you smiling at him for a reason?
No. So I was smiling at him.
So, if anyone has any ideas, nominations, I'll pass this to Tammy, and we can go from there.
I'm sorry, what day is nomination?
April 30th.
We have a meeting.
We have another meeting before.
Okay, I have some new business actually that I'd like to talk about. I'd like to acknowledge the fact that in our community, we've had 4 ODs in the last week and a half. 2 deaths have resulted from these overdoses.
Two.
Yes, and 2 people have obviously OD'd and are okay. This is a really small community, and that's a really big problem. People aren't really talking about it. I just don't want this to get brushed under the rug, and I don't know what we can do, but this is happening in this community here, and it's an issue. I don't see increased police presence in town. We haven't even met the chief of police yet. There's some big issues here that I think we have to start talking about. We can't, 1 death to me for something like that is 1 death too many. And I don't really know what the solution is. I don't know if we need to start talking about this or figuring out what is the council.
It's a huge all over, not only in our little town.
Yeah, oh, I know.
Community, but so what would our responsibility as a municipality be in that? That's the question.
Yeah, I don't know. Is 4 ODs in a week? Is that a state of emergency for our town? Is that significant enough? We're a small town. We're not a big municipal. Toulouse not a big area. That's a lot of overdoses in the course of a very short span.
Why don't the OPP crack down where they know where this stuff is? Because I know where it is.
Yeah.
Come on.
I know where this subject comes up. Every one of our Renfrew County District Health meetings.
Uh-huh.
It comes up at County Council. Every community is talking about it, but right now it's just talk.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's the only way it's going.
Uh-huh.
Nobody has come forward with anything concrete, which is unfortunate. Maureen, I wish I had an answer for you, what to do.
Well, I would really like to, I would really like to. We've talked a lot about having the chief of police come in. I don't know if he's been invited as of yet. I am not really clear I don't know if it's Ted who's the member of council who's supposed to be having those conversations. Like, I think that conversation needs to be had. I think the chief of police needs to come in, and I think we need to have a talk about what sorts of things are happening to keep our community safe. Because I don't want there to be another death in Curlew. You know, we can like say, oh, they're just.
They have to make it, because I've tried for years, just especially in winter. They're riding around, stop in at the arenas, stop in at the arenas.
But I think it's time. I think.
Sit in the parking lot and then
Yeah.
drive away.
Yeah, but I think it's time because to me they're they're obviously our first line of defense. I know there was a committee of people put together, I think, with mental health services. Do you know about this in the addiction services? Was it through the Renfrew County, the VTAC or something, possibly?
It's the situation table that we were speaking about.
Okay, but there is like there are people, there are teams out there. It's just I don't think we've really blown the whistle on what an issue this is and that our town is suffering. Our town is suffering. You know, we all know, I know this. I don't know if the public knows this, and I really want the public to know this.
Obviously, there's a good write-up in the Eagle of the Leader, but Nicole Bernard has, and she's saying exactly the same thing. We have to get together as a community, and Kelly Newberry, Golden Lake, and everything. She wrote that in there, and we have to get together as a community. I wouldn't like getting in on the committee and work. Then we have to work with the policemen, go to them and maybe tell them what they have to do.
But our communities, as a community, we have to do something, and I'm putting up the call. We have to do something.
I think, Maureen, it's a good first step, and I think it really fell through the cracks as far as getting the police chief. I know there's gonna be a changeover as far as the commander. So, Tammy, could we put that request forward and see who would come and we could have a discussion with and meet? I don't think they'll have a new commander in place by that, whenever we can get him or someone to come in, but whoever it is, I think it merits it.
Yeah, and at a county level, I would like you to bring this up at county to let them know that our communities suffer. Yeah.
It was 4 in a couple of days.
Yeah.
Three on one day.
Yeah. Yeah, like we've got to start taking action. I'm so sick of all the talk and no action because I don't know how bad this problem has to get before we're willing to like act, and not let people suffer and die.
There's like 8 to 12 calls for overdoses a day on the scanner. The other day there was 4 in Pembroke from about 9 o'clock in the morning.
And those are people not on the street, they're in the warming centers. That's what we've been finding out. They're just not on the.
They're finding them in washrooms.
Yeah.
They're
everywhere.
Finding
They're
them
everywhere.
in the parking lots. You name it, they're finding them.
Yeah.
The problem is that the drug supply is poison. They're putting things in the drugs that make them, that make it so that
Yeah.
they don't respond to Narcan.
Yeah.
And plus, it compounds the fact that another factor is our ambulances now, there are not enough to take care of, the rest of the population. They're so zeroed in on those situations. And
If I may, remember, I believe the county initiated some type of program with the paramedic service where they were doing walk-arounds in suspect areas in Pembroke. But again, that's a very small piece of the puzzle, but something like that was initiated to try and address it in specific locations.
But I agree with you, Carl. Everybody in this town talks about the people. It's like I don't know how everybody in this town can know the people who might be part of that problem, and nothing's been done.
I know.
It's like it flabbergasts me.
I know exactly where one of the big sources is, and another one. And
Yeah. Anyway.
well, I think that's a good conversation, and thank you for everyone's input. And I will definitely bring it up on Wednesday at the county level again. And so you said 3 in one day?
No, there were two deaths within the span of it was within a couple days and 2 ODs, 2 people who
The 2
survived.
ODs and 1 death happened on one day.
Okay, yeah, and then there was another death. Yeah.
I never heard of the other one. I heard of
Yeah,
one.
there was 2 people who died from overdoses.
And your next item on new business?
My only other item is that the food bank is having an open house on Saturday, and I expect to see you all there. Buy some cupcakes, bring some money.
Will
10
there-
to 3, 10 to 3.
Will there be snacks?
There will be snacks,
Okay.
nice drinks. So please come out and support your food bank
Did you
because.
say mixed drinks?
What's that? Cold
Cold.
drinks, non-alcoholic. Yes. So come see how the food bank works and come out and support us.
Does anyone else have any new business? Good. We have a motion to go into committee. Or is it committee? Motion to go into committee.
Moved by Maureen McMillan, second by Harold Levine, be it resolved that council convenes a closed meeting pursuant to section 239 of municipal 2001 as amended for the following reasons. Personal matters of an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, labor relations or employee negotiations.
All those in favor? Carried.
Very, very good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Well,
Hi, John. John, get out.
Eh?
You have to get out.
Yeah.
Anything, so, yeah. Please be advised that staff have been directed accordingly to reflect the matters discussed in committee of the whole. Motion for the confirming bylaw.
Moved by Brian Kukowski, second by Harold Levine, that bylaw number 12, 2024, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council of the Township of Killeen, Haggerty, Richards at its regular meeting held on April 2nd, 2024, beginning its first, second, and third reading, and finally passed this second date, April 2024.
All those in favor? Carried. Motion for adjournment.
Moved by Bill Smith, second by Maureen McMillan, motion to adjourn the regular council meeting of April 2nd, 2024, to the Township of Killeen, Haggerty, and Richards.
All those in favor? Carried.